My name is Cordelia Hayes, and I'm 30 years old. Last Mother's Day weekend, I received an invoice from my mother totaling $389,000. The email header declared, "What it costs to raise a failure." She copied every single one of our 52 family members on that message, from distant cousins in Oregon to great-aunts in Florida, spanning the entire breadth of our sprawling clan. She expected tears. She anticipated groveling. She assumed I would collapse inward the way I'd done countless times before. Instead, I responded with a single photograph. Within 24 hours, 51 of them had removed her from their contacts. The 52nd person, my grandmother Minerva, chose a different path entirely. Something far more devastating. Before I reveal what that image contained and describe my grandmother's actions, I'm asking you to engage with this content, but genuinely, authentically, only if this narrative resonates with you. Share your location and current time in the comments section. Let me rewind to where this really began. My profession is risk assessment analyst at a medium-sized financial consultancy in Seattle. Mathematical patterns appeal to me. They maintain consistency. They operate without bias. They communicate clearly without hidden meanings. Human beings, particularly those sharing my bloodline, represent an entirely different challenge. My residence occupies roughly 500 square feet in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. Nothing extravagant, but the lease bears my signature alone. I've covered every payment independently since turning 23. Zero assistance from anyone. My sister Sloan, my senior by 2 years, recently acquired a 5-bedroom Craftsman in Bellevue. Our parents provided her down payment as a gift. $75,000 presented with proclamations of immense pride. I discovered this through her social media announcement. When I completed my undergraduate degree, I received a delayed text from my mother. "Well done." Arrived 19 days after the ceremony. No enthusiasm punctuation. When Sloan achieved senior consultant status at her marketing agency, they organized a celebration. Professional catering, champagne fountains, relatives traveling from across the country. I'm not recounting this to express complaint. I abandoned those expectations years ago. You learn to quantify your value through elements within your control. Your professional output, your financial reserves, the tranquility of your personal sanctuary. Elliot, who's been my partner for 3 years, occasionally questions why I maintain attendance at family functions. Why I still answer when my mother initiates contact. Why I allow her criticisms to roll off without reaction. I never formulate satisfactory responses. Perhaps some fragment of me maintained hope. Perhaps some piece believed that sufficient effort, adequate silence, minimal disruption would eventually earn the recognition she bestows upon Sloan. My career in financial analysis reinforced one critical understanding. Data maintains integrity. People fabricate. I simply hadn't recognized the extent of my mother's fabrications until recent years. The behavioral pattern established itself long before I possessed vocabulary to identify it. My university graduation ceremony, spring of 2019. I crossed the platform at University of Washington, summa cum laude, economics concentration secured. I scanned the assembled crowd seeking my family. Dad occupied his seat, beaming, gesturing enthusiastically. The chair beside him remained vacant. Mom had fallen ill that morning. A debilitating headache, according to her explanation. Too incapacitating for the 90-minute journey. 7 days following, she boarded a flight to Los Angeles for Sloan's agency recognition gala. Published 14 photographs across social media platforms. Bursting with pride over my exceptional marketing executive daughter. I acknowledged the post with approval. That's protocol. Throughout childhood, Sloan embodied our future business mogul. I represented the problematic child. Sloan received celebration for her academic performance. I fielded inquiries about insufficient improvement. Sloan's accomplishments garnered recognition. Mine were anticipated or disregarded entirely. Dad attempted intervention in his subdued manner. He'd squeeze my shoulder following Mom's particularly cutting observations. "Your mother has good intentions," he'd reassure. "She simply struggles with expressing affection toward you." I accepted those words once. Regarding higher education, both Sloan and I were supposed to benefit from educational trusts. Grandmother and grandfather established them during our early childhood. Identical amounts designated for each. Sloan graduated without debt burden. I graduated carrying $73,000 in educational loans. Mom informed me my fund depleted more rapidly due to unforeseen expenses throughout secondary school. Specialized instruction, she claimed. Enrichment programs. Necessary interventions. I didn't challenge this explanation then. What justification existed? She was my mother. But numerical data eventually reveals truth, even when individuals don't. 3 years ago, I began examining those numbers closely. 14 days before Mother's Day, Mom declared her intentions. A comprehensive family gathering. Not merely our immediate household, but everyone. Every aunt and uncle, every cousin, their partners and offspring. 52 individuals total, assembling at Grandmother Minerva's farmstead in rural Oregon. Far too long since we've gathered collectively, Mom announced in our family messaging thread. Let's create something memorable this Mother's Day. I stared at that screen extensively. Elliot was preparing our evening meal when I shared this news. He paused mid-motion, cooking utensil suspended. You're not obligated to attend, he observed. She's my mother. That doesn't automatically, I understand. I retrieved the phone from his grasp, set it aside deliberately. I understand. The following day, Sloan contacted me, voice dripping sweetness. Hey, so you're arriving ahead of schedule to assist with preparations, correct? Like always. Like always. Meaning I appear at sunrise to cook and organize while she materializes at midday carrying expensive wine and designer attire. Absolutely, I confirmed, like always. After disconnecting, I positioned myself before my laptop. There exists a folder I maintain buried 3 directory levels deep. I titled it Contingency. Simply a designation, merely a safeguard. I hadn't accessed it in months. That evening, I opened it. 3 files contained within: a screenshot capture, a PDF document, a data spreadsheet. I'd been accumulating these for 3 years, since inadvertently discovering something prohibited to my awareness. I convinced myself these were maintained just in case, that deployment would likely never occur. I closed the laptop and attempted sleep, but rest evaded me. Something about Mom's announcement of this assembly, its magnitude, its timing, her insistence on universal attendance felt orchestrated toward something specific. I simply hadn't realized I was the target. Mother's Day dawn arrived. I reached Grandmother Minerva's farmstead at 6:30. Sunrise barely crested the horizon. Morning moisture clung to vegetation. The aged white farmhouse appeared unchanged from memory. Wraparound veranda, forest green shutters, the variety of structure that contains generational histories. Not exclusively pleasant ones. I dedicated the subsequent 5 hours to culinary preparation, sanitation, floral arrangements, establishing the extended dining table with premium porcelain. 52 place configurations, 52 fabric serviettes, 52 potential points of failure. Sloan materialized at 11:15. She entered adorned in ivory linen, carrying a bouquet of orchids probably exceeding my monthly food budget. She greeted Mom with continental kisses. She praised the decorative elements, those I'd installed. Everything appears flawless, she declared to Mom. You've surpassed yourself. Mom smiled radiantly. I received some assistance. She didn't glance toward me during that statement. By noon, the residence overflowed. Aunts and uncles encountered annually. Cousins barely recognized. Their children navigating the corridors, commotion and merriment and the aroma of the roast I'd been tending since dawn. Mom navigated the assembly like royalty, accepting embraces, accepting praise, accepting the attention. I remained proximate to the kitchen. During the family portrait, Mom positioned everyone upon the veranda steps. She placed Sloan directly adjacent. When I advanced forward, she regarded me briefly. Cordelia, darling, position yourself in the rear. You're taller. You'll obstruct everyone. I positioned myself in the rear. That's when Grandmother Minerva materialized beside me. She gripped my forearm. Her grasp possessed surprising strength for an 81-year-old woman. Whatever transpires today, she murmured quietly, maintain your position. You comprehend? I didn't understand. Not yet. The toasting commenced following the meal. Uncle Raymond initiated, elevating his glass to the foundation of our family. Aunt Constance followed with emotional testimony about sisterly bonds. Cousin after cousin stood, extolling mothers, extolling Mom specifically, extolling the woman who sacrificed everything. I remained silent. I'd learned long previously that my voice wasn't desired during these moments. Then Mom rose. She smoothed her lavender garment. She lifted her wine glass. The room descended into practiced silence. "Thank you all for your presence," she began. Her voice carried that rehearsed warmth, the inflection she employed for audiences. Motherhood represents the most fulfilling role imaginable, but simultaneously the most challenging. Murmurs of concurrence circulated through the assembly. "I've been blessed with 2 daughters, 2 distinctly different daughters." She paused, allowing the significance to settle. One who has generated pride consistently, and one who has challenged me perpetually. Gazes shifted toward me. I sensed them like thermal radiation. I've contemplated extensively about articulating what motherhood genuinely means, the sacrifices we make, the expenses we absorb. She reached into her pocket and retrieved her mobile device. "So I've prepared something particular. A presentation, you might characterize it, for all of you, and for one daughter specifically." Her thumb moved across the screen. Throughout the room, phones began vibrating. Notification after notification after notification. 52 alerts in rapid succession. "I want everyone to witness precisely what it cost," Mom declared, her eyes locating mine, "to raise a failure." The room became absolutely still, and in that silence, I comprehended what Grandmother Minerva had attempted to warn me about. This wasn't a family reunion. This was a public execution. 52 phones illuminated simultaneously. I observed hands reaching for devices, observed faces bending toward screens, observed expressions transforming from curiosity to discomfort to shock. The email subject designation, the expense of raising a failure, the content, an itemized spreadsheet. 30 years of my existence, reduced to fiscal entries. Hospital delivery expenses, $13,400. Infant supplies, first 24 months, $3,100. Childhood garments, $17,200. Orthodontic treatment, $9,000. Summer enrichment programs, $5,000. Initial vehicle, $13,500. University housing and meals, $52,000. Mobile phone services, $9,200. The list continued endlessly. $389,000 total. Mom recited selections audibly, her voice projecting across the silent room. Orthodontic correction, $9,000. Has she ever expressed gratitude? Celebration events, $1,400 across 18 years. Did she ever appreciate a single occasion? Someone emitted nervous laughter. Someone else shifted uncomfortably. I stood immobilized by the kitchen entrance. 52 pairs of eyes focused on me. Some pitying, some entertained, some averting in discomfort. "This represents what an ungrateful child costs," Mom continued. "This is what failure appears like in monetary terms." She'd framed a printed version, literally framed it, in an ornate frame coordinating with Grandma's aesthetic. She approached the mantel and positioned it above the fireplace directly beside the family portrait. "A reminder," she announced, rotating back to face me. "For all of us." The room anticipated my tears, my apology, my collapse. I'd performed that role before. Every family assembly, every celebration, every phone conversation. I'd swallowed the humiliation and maintained composure. My hands should have been trembling. They weren't. Because stored in my phone existed a folder labeled contingency, and Mom had just authorized me to access it. For 10 seconds, I didn't move. I allowed the silence to extend. Allowed Mom to bask in what she perceived as victory. Allowed the room to hold its collective anticipation, waiting for the familiar script. Cordelia apologizes. Cordelia weeps. Cordelia creates discomfort, and Mom performs the long-suffering mother. I'd executed that role for 30 years. Not today. My consciousness flashed through memories. Every Christmas where my gifts were afterthoughts. Every academic report that earned criticism instead of recognition. Every instance I'd apologized for existing in a manner that inconvenienced her. I thought about the nights I'd spent in my apartment, examining credit documentation I couldn't comprehend. The conversations with federal tax agents about returns I'd never submitted. The rental applications rejected due to a credit rating I'd never earned. I thought about the folder on my phone. 3 files. 3 years of quiet documentation. 3 opportunities to demonstrate that the failure narrative wasn't merely unjust. It was concealment. I surveyed the room. Sloane was whispering something to her husband, a smirk decorating her face. Dad was staring at his plate. Grandmother Minerva sat perfectly motionless, her eyes on me. She offered me the smallest nod. My hand went to my phone. I opened it, navigated past the home screen, past the applications, past the directories. There it was, contingency. 3 files inside. A screenshot capture, a PDF document, a data spreadsheet. My pulse was calm. My respiration was steady. "Mom," I said. My voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Since we're sharing numerical data today, I have some of my own." The smirk on her face flickered. "What are you doing?" she asked. I smiled, the first genuine smile I'd worn all day. Balancing the ledger. I walked toward the center of the room. Every step resonated against the hardwood flooring. Conversations had died completely. Even the children in the corridor had gone quiet, sensing something in the atmosphere. "Keep your phones accessible," I said. My voice was steady, professional, the same tone I employed in client presentations. "Because I'm about to send you something as well." "Cordelia?" Mom's tone had shifted, a warning edge emerging. "This isn't appropriate. Actually, it's the perfect time." I stopped beside her, close enough to see the mascara she'd carefully applied. Close enough to see the first flicker of fear beneath her confidence. "You calculated what I cost you, Mom." "Seems only fair I calculate what you cost me." I opened my email application, selected all 52 family contacts. "Cordelia, whatever you think you're doing, I'm doing exactly what you taught me." I looked up at her, held her gaze. Showing receipts. I pressed send. The familiar chorus of notification sounds filled the room. Alert, alert, alert. One after another, spreading through the crowd like falling dominoes. Mom's face paled slightly. "What did you just send?" "The truth." I slipped my phone back into my pocket. "You have numbers, Mom. I have documents." Movement caught my eye. Grandmother Minerva had risen from her chair, but she wasn't moving to stop this. She was pulling her seat closer. Front row observation. A few relatives were already opening the email. I saw their expressions change. Confusion first, then something else. Uncle Raymond was the first to look up at Mom with a different kind of expression. "Maureen," he said slowly, "what is this?" Mom's composure cracked just for a moment. The performance was about to become interesting. Now, before I reveal exactly what was in that email, I have to ask, how many of you maintain a folder like mine? Evidence you've been collecting? Hoping deployment would never be necessary? Drop a 1 in the comments if you know exactly what I'm describing. And if you're watching this late at night, unable to sleep because family conflict is occupying your mind, you're not alone. Hit subscribe and let's navigate this together. Okay, back to that dining room. The email contained 3 attachments. I started with the first one. "Mom, you charged me for my university education in your little invoice. Housing and meals, textbooks, living expenses." I paused. But here's the reality. I paid for university myself. $73,000 in educational loans. Still making payments. Murmurs rippled through the room. "That's because my college fund depleted, correct?" "That's what you told me." I pulled up the PDF on my phone, projecting calm I didn't entirely feel. Except I work in financial analysis now, and I know how to trace monetary transfers. I turned to face the room. Grandmother and grandfather established education trusts for both Sloane and me during our childhood. Same amount, $96,000 each. I let that number sink in. Sloane utilized hers, graduated debt-free. I pointed to the screen displaying on my phone. My trust was withdrawn in full on July 27, 2016, 1 month before I commenced university. The money was transferred to an account belonging to Maureen Hayes. Aunt Constance's hand went to her mouth. $96,000, I repeated, gone into Mom's personal account. 1 week following, I swiped to the next document. She purchased a new Mercedes, cash transaction. That money was for family expenses. Mom's voice rose defensively. You don't understand. I understand bank records. I kept my voice level. I understand wire transfers. I understand that you stole my college fund and let me drown in debt while you drove a luxury vehicle. Dad stood up slowly from his chair. His face had gone pale. Maureen, he said quietly, is this true? Mom opened her mouth to respond, but I wasn't finished yet. That's just the beginning, I said. The room had grown colder somehow. Or maybe it was just the way people were looking at Mom now, with less sympathy, more scrutiny. I opened the second attachment, a spreadsheet. For the past 2 years, I've been receiving strange correspondence from the IRS, audits, notices about discrepancies. Initially, I thought it was an error. I scrolled through the document. Then I hired a certified accountant to investigate deeper. I turned the phone so people nearby could see the screen. Columns of numbers, dates, filings. From 2018 to 2024, Mom claimed me as a dependent on her federal taxes. 6 consecutive years. Cousin Nathan frowned. So parents claim their kids all the time. I was 23 in 2018, I said. Living in my own apartment, paying my own rent, my own insurance, my own everything. I haven't been anyone's dependent since I was 22. The implication landed. I watched it spread across faces. Each year, she received between $5,000 and $7,000 in tax benefits from claiming me. I did the math audibly. Total approximately $36,000. Tax fraud using my social security number. That's a federal crime. Uncle Samuel, a retired accountant himself, spoke up, his voice grim. Indeed. I looked at Mom. I had to hire a certified accountant to clean up the mess. $3,800 out of my own pocket to fix what you did. Dad's hands were gripping the edge of the table. Maureen, you told me Cordelia agreed to this arrangement. Gerald, stay out of this. But it was too late for that. The room was shifting. The narrative was changing. And I still had one more file to show them. I let the silence build. Mom was looking at me differently now. The confidence was gone. In its place was something I'd rarely seen on her face. Uncertainty. There's one more thing, I said quietly. I didn't open the third file yet. Instead, I asked her a question. Mom, do you remember when I applied for my first apartment after university, the one in Fremont? She didn't answer. I got rejected. The landlord told me my credit score was 495. I was 23 years old with a score that said I was a financial catastrophe. I paused. I'd never missed a payment in my life. I'd never had a credit card. Understanding dawned in a few faces around the room. So I pulled my credit report. And do you know what I discovered? I opened the third attachment. Bank statements, credit card applications, all bearing my name. 3 credit cards opened in 2016, 2017, and 2018. All using my name and social security number. All maxed out. I let the number land like a hammer. $51,000 in debt on my record for purchases I never made. Aunt Regina gasped. This is identity theft, Uncle Samuel said flatly. Maureen, this is a federal crime. It took me 4 years to clear my name, I continued. 2 attorneys, hundreds of hours on phone calls. But I kept everything. Every document, every statement, every piece of evidence. Movement at the edge of the room. Sloane was standing up, reaching for her purse. Sit down, Sloane. She froze. You're not going anywhere. I met her eyes. Because one of those credit cards, the statements were shipped to your address. The color drained from my sister's face. I didn't know, Sloane started. Don't. My voice was calm, cold. I have the shipping receipts, your address, your signature on delivery confirmations. The room turned to look at my sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. You received packages in my name for 3 years. Designer handbags, electronics, jewelry. I pulled up one particular receipt, including an engagement ring. $9,300 charged to a card with my name on it. Sloane's husband, Preston, stared at her hand, at the diamond glittering under the dining room lights. You wore my stolen identity to your wedding, I said. Did you know, or did you just not want to know? Sloane's voice cracked. Mom said it was an emergency. She said you wouldn't find out. I didn't think an emergency that lasted 4 years. I interrupted. Buying Prada bags was an emergency. Aunt Constance rose from her seat, her face ashen. Sloane, how could you? I didn't know it was illegal. Sloane's composure shattered. Tears streamed down her face. Real ones, maybe. Or maybe just the performance she'd learned from Mom. She told me Cordelia would never check. She told you to help her steal from me. I finished the sentence. And you did. The murmurs had grown to open conversation now. Relatives talking to each other, voices rising, some in shock, some in anger, some already standing, reaching for coats and vehicle keys. But there was one more thing. The screenshot. I hadn't opened it yet. The one I'd been holding for 3 years. The one that explained everything. I looked at my mother. She was pale now, trembling. There's one more file, I said. But this one is the significant one. Mom saw the shift in the room. She felt it slipping away from her. So she did what she'd always done. She changed tactics. Her shoulders began to shake. Her eyes glistened with tears. She pressed a hand to her chest like she was struggling to breathe. I can't believe this, she said, her voice cracking beautifully. I gave everything to this child. Everything. And this is how she repays me. A few relatives hesitated. Old habits die hard. We're trained from birth to comfort a crying mother. I made mistakes, yes, but I did it for the family. Everything I did was for the family. She reached for Dad's arm. Gerald, tell them. Tell them I only wanted what was best for everyone. Dad stood rigid. His jaw worked silently. He didn't move toward her. Mom turned to Grandmother Minerva. Mama, please say something. You know me. You know I'm not a monster. Grandmother Minerva remained seated. Her face was stone. I'm listening, Maureen, she said quietly. I'm listening to everything. Mom's desperation showed now. The performance was cracking at the edges. Fine. Her voice hardened. Something dangerous flickered in her eyes. You want to play this game, Cordelia? You want to air dirty laundry in front of everyone? She stepped toward me. Close. Too close. Then let's talk about why, she hissed. Let's talk about why I've treated you differently your whole life. There are things you don't know. Things I've protected you from. A warning. A threat. There are things about you, little girl, that would change everything. She thought she still had leverage. She thought her secret was bigger than mine. She was wrong. You're right, Mom, I said. There is something I don't know, or didn't know until 3 years ago. Mom's eyes widened slightly, just a fraction. What are you talking about? 3 years ago, I was at Sloane's apartment. She left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to take a call. A message came through. I kept my voice even. From you. The color was draining from Mom's face now. I wasn't going to read it, but your name was there, and the preview showed something I couldn't ignore. Cordelia. Her voice was a warning. So I took a screenshot. Don't. And I've had it for 3 years. I pulled up my phone. 3 years of you humiliating me at every holiday, every birthday, every family gathering. 3 years of swallowing your insults and saying nothing. Mom's composure finally cracked. Real fear showed in her eyes. I never used it, I continued. I told myself I never would. That it wasn't my secret to tell. That maybe you had a reason for being the way you are. Please. The word came out broken. Please, Cordelia, whatever you think you know. I didn't come here today planning to do this. My voice was steady. But you did, Mom. You planned this whole thing. You wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. You wanted to make me the villain of your story. I held up my phone. So now I'm going to tell the truth. If you ever loved me, Mom started. Loved you? I felt something crack in my chest. I spent my entire life trying to earn your love. Turns out I never had a chance. I opened the email application, selected all 52 contacts, attached the screenshot. My thumb hovered over send. This is why, I said quietly. This is why you've hated me since the day I was born. I pressed send. The notifications erupted. 52 phones, 52 alerts. One after another, a cascade of digital notifications that filled the silent room like artillery fire. Mom lunged toward me. Delete it. Make them delete it. Her voice was ragged, desperate. Uncle Raymond caught her arm. Maureen, stop. But everyone was already looking, already reading. I watched their faces as the screenshot loaded on their screens. Confusion first, then the slow dawning of comprehension, then shock. Aunt Constance's hand flew to her mouth. Uncle Samuel sat down heavily. Cousin Nathan dropped his phone entirely. The screenshot was a text message from Maureen Hayes to Sloane Hayes, dated August 9th, 2023. It read, "This one isn't Gerald's biological child. Don't tell anyone. If he finds out, he'll divorce me, and I'll lose everything." The room went absolutely still. Then Dad spoke. "Maureen." His voice was barely a whisper. "What is this?" Mom was shaking, all the color gone from her face. "It's not, I can explain. That's not what it is." "Is it true?" The question hung in the air. 30 years of marriage, 30 years of loving a daughter who might not be his. Mom couldn't speak. It was Sloane, ironic, traitorous Sloane, who confirmed it. "It's real," she said quietly. Her voice was hollow. "She sent it to me 3 years ago. Made me promise never to say anything." Dad made a sound, a wounded animal sound. He turned and walked toward the door. "Gerald." Mom reached for him. He didn't look back. The front door opened, closed. I heard his vehicle engine start, heard it pull away, and standing in the wreckage of her own making, my mother finally looked at me. Not with anger, with something worse. Fear. The silence that followed was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. 51 people processed the same information simultaneously. 30 years of family history rewritten in a single text message. I wasn't Gerald Hayes' biological daughter. The man who'd taught me to ride a bicycle, who'd helped me with mathematics homework, who'd walked me to school on my first day. He wasn't my biological father, and my mother had known all along. Suddenly, everything made sense. The differential treatment, the constant criticism, the way she looked at me like I was a reminder of something she wanted to forget. I wasn't a failure. I was evidence. "You spent 30 years punishing me," I said quietly. Not because I wasn't good enough. Because every time you looked at me, you saw your own mistake. Mom's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I was 18, she finally said. 18 and stupid. It was one time. I don't care about what happened 31 years ago." My voice was steady. "I care about what happened every day after. Every insult. Every comparison to Sloane. Every time you made me feel worthless." Grandmother Minerva rose from her chair. She moved slowly toward Mom. For a moment, I thought she was going to comfort her daughter. Instead, she stopped 3 feet away and looked at her with an expression I'd never seen before. Disgust. "I suspected," Minerva said quietly. "For years I suspected something wasn't right. The way you treated that girl." She shook her head. "But I never imagined this. Mama, please." 30 years, Minerva continued. "You lied to everyone. To Gerald. To the entire family." She paused. "To me." Mom started to cry. Real tears now. I could tell the difference. But no one moved to comfort her. The room fractured. People began moving all at once. Voices overlapped. Shocked whispers. Angry questions. The scrape of chairs being pushed back. "I can't believe this. 30 years of lying." Poor Gerald. God. Poor Gerald. Aunt Constance grabbed her purse and headed for the door without a word. Uncle Samuel followed, shaking his head. Cousin Bethany was already on her phone, probably calling someone who hadn't made it to the reunion. Those who stayed looked at Mom differently now, not with the deference she'd cultivated for decades, with something closer to revulsion. Everything I did for this family, Mom screamed. Her composure was completely gone. Mascara ran down her cheeks in black rivers. I kept us together. I protected everyone from the truth. You protected yourself, Aunt Regina corrected quietly. That's all you ever did, Maureen. Around the room, phones were buzzing. The exodus had begun in the family messaging thread, too. I caught glimpses over shoulders. People leaving the conversation, blocking contacts, typing furious messages. Mom lunged for my phone. Delete it. Make everyone delete it. Uncle Raymond and Preston held her back. I stood motionless in the center of it all, watching 30 years of carefully constructed lies collapse in real time. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. Gentle. Warm. Grandmother Minerva. Come with me, she said softly. She guided me through the chaos, past relatives who reached out to touch my arm, past cousins who said things like, I'm so sorry, and I had no idea. We stopped by the front door. Through the glass, I could see the driveway was emptying. Vehicles pulling out one after another. You're still my granddaughter, Minerva said firmly. Blood or no blood, that doesn't change. I believed her. I found Dad in the parking area. His vehicle was still there, engine running. He hadn't made it past the end of the driveway. Through the windshield, I could see him sitting motionless, both hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. I knocked on the passenger window. He didn't respond at first. Then slowly, like waking from a dream, he reached over and unlocked the door. I slid into the seat beside him. We sat in silence. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the hood. Inside the house, I could still hear muffled voices, arguments, crying. I'm sorry, I finally said. Dad turned to look at me. His eyes were red. Don't, he said. Don't you dare apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. I never wanted to hurt you. He laughed, a broken, painful sound. 30 years, he said. 30 years I've loved you. Changed your diapers. Taught you how to drive. Helped you move into your dormitory. His voice cracked. DNA doesn't change that. I felt tears prick my eyes, the first ones all day. You're still my dad. And you're still my daughter. He reached over and squeezed my hand. That's the only thing I'm sure of right now. Whatever else happens, that doesn't change. We sat there for a long moment, father and daughter, bound by something stronger than biology. I need to go, he finally said. I can't be in that house right now. I can't look at her. I know. He pulled me into a hug, awkward over the center console, but fierce. You were braver than me today, he said into my hair. You were braver than I've ever been. Then he let go, put the vehicle in gear, and drove away. I walked back into the house. The crowd had thinned dramatically. Maybe 17 people remained, most of them looking shell-shocked and unsure whether to stay or go. The framed invoice still hung above the fireplace, a monument to Mom's cruelty that now seemed almost pathetic. Mom sat alone on the couch. Her hair had come loose from its careful styling. Her makeup was destroyed. She looked smaller somehow, like the revelation had physically diminished her. For the first time, I didn't see the tyrant who'd ruled my childhood. I saw a 56-year-old woman whose entire life had just collapsed. I should have felt victorious. I didn't. She looked up as I approached. Her eyes were hollow. Are you happy now? Her voice was hoarse. You've destroyed everything. No, Mom. I sat down in the chair across from her. You did that 30 years ago. I just stopped helping you hide it. A sob escaped her. Raw and ugly. I was 18, she said again. I was so scared when I realized I was pregnant and it might not be Gerald's. I panicked. I thought if I'd just never told anyone. You thought if you made everyone hate me first, Nobody would believe me when the truth came out. She didn't deny it. Every time you looked at me, you saw your mistake. I continued. So you spent nearly 3 decades trying to make me disappear. Make me the problem. The failure. The one nobody would miss if I just stopped showing up. Mom covered her face with her hands. I didn't know how else to protect myself, she whispered. By destroying me. She had no answer to that. Nobody ever does. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I want you to understand something, I said quietly. I didn't do this to destroy you. I did it because I needed the truth. 52 people needed to know I'm not the failure you made me out to be. Mom looked up. Mascara streaked. Broken. Dad needed to know why you treated me the way you did. And you? I paused. You needed to know that I've had this evidence for 3 years. Her eyes widened slightly. 3 years? I repeated. 3 years of you humiliating me at every holiday, every birthday, every phone call. And I never said a word. I leaned forward. I only used it today because you forced my hand. In front of everyone, with your little invoice. The irony wasn't lost on her. I could see it register. From now on, I continued, I don't need you to acknowledge me. I don't need you to love me. I stopped expecting that a long time ago. I stood up. I only need one thing from you. Leave me alone. That's my boundary. Respect it. You can't just I can. My voice was still wrapped in silk. And if you cross it, if you show up at my workplace or contact my employer or try to poison anyone else against me, the next conversation won't be in front of family. I held her gaze. It will be with the IRS and the police. Identity theft, tax fraud, theft of my education fund. I have everything documented. Mom's face went white. I walked toward the door. Goodbye, Mom. She didn't call after me. For the first time in 30 years, my hands weren't shaking. They were perfectly still. Now, if you've made it this far, I need to know. Was I right to expose everything in front of the whole family, or should I have handled it privately? Drop a comment with public or private and tell me why. Also, can we talk about Grandmother Minerva for a second? She's been suspiciously calm this whole time, and what she did next changed everything. But first, if this story is hitting different for you tonight, subscribe. We're not done yet. Back to that night. Elliot was waiting when I got home. He didn't ask questions right away. He just pulled me into an embrace that lasted 4 full minutes, then made me tea and sat beside me on the couch. I told him everything. When I finished, I finally let myself look at my phone. I'd been avoiding it on the drive home. The notifications were overwhelming. The family messaging thread was chaos. Message after message. People sharing their shock, their anger, their sudden clarity about years of witnessing Mom's behavior and never questioning it. And then the blocks started showing. One by one, family members were removing Maureen Hayes from their contacts, leaving group messages, unfollowing on social media. By midnight, I counted 51. Private messages flooded my inbox. I had no idea. I'm so sorry for never stepping in. Aunt Regina, you were so brave today. I wish I had half your courage. Cousin Bethany, I always thought something was off. I should have trusted my instincts. Uncle Samuel, the one that made me cry came from Aunt Constance, Mom's own sister. I failed you, sweetheart. For 30 years I watched and said nothing. That ends today. I scrolled through each message, each apology, each expression of support that came decades too late but still mattered. Elliot pointed at my screen. What about the 52nd person? Your grandmother? I checked. No block from Minerva. But there was a text sent at 11:32 p.m. I need to see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. My house. Come alone. I stared at those words. Something was happening. Something beyond the immediate fallout. Whatever Grandmother Minerva was planning, she'd clearly been thinking about it since the moment that screenshot appeared on everyone's phones. Maybe even before. Grandmother Minerva's farmhouse looked different in the morning light. Quieter. Emptier. The remnants of yesterday's chaos had been cleaned away. The tables cleared. The chairs returned to their places, the framed invoice notably absent from the mantel. The front door was open. I walked through the familiar hallway to the study at the back of the house. Grandmother Minerva sat behind her oak desk. Papers were spread in front of her. Official-looking documents covered in dense paragraphs and signatures. She wasn't alone. A man in a charcoal suit stood beside her. I recognized him. Theodore Williamson, the family's estate attorney. I'd met him once at Grandfather's funeral. "Sit down, dear," Grandma said. I took the chair across from her. My heart was beating faster than I wanted it to. "I didn't block your mother," Minerva said directly. "Do you want to know why?" "Yes. Because blocking her would have been a kindness." Her voice was iron. "What I did instead is permanent." She slid a document across the desk toward me. At 2:43 this morning, I called Theodore. Woke him from a dead sleep. By 5 a.m., we had finalized new paperwork. She tapped the document. "My will has been changed." I looked at the paper. Legal language swam before my eyes. "I don't understand. Your mother was originally set to receive 38% of my estate. That's been reduced to 6%. Minerva's eyes met mine. Just enough that she can't challenge it on grounds of being completely disinherited. My breath caught. "Your share has increased from 12% to 33%. She paused. "Your father's portion remains the same. He's a victim in this too. Grandma, I wasn't expecting." "I know." Her voice softened. "That's precisely why you deserve it." Theodore Williamson cleared his throat. "For clarity, Mrs. Harrison has redistributed her estate as follows." "Thank you, Theodore. I'll explain." Grandmother Minerva took the document back. "This isn't about punishment. This is about justice." She stood and walked to the window, looking out over the property. Acres of Oregon farmland that had been in our family for 4 generations. "I started suspecting something was wrong years ago," she said quietly. "The way Maureen treated you. The excuses. The favoritism so blatant it made me uncomfortable." She turned back to face me. "When your grandfather was alive, we tried to intervene. We set up that education trust specifically because we worried Maureen would manage things poorly." Her expression darkened. "We never imagined she'd steal from her own child. You couldn't have known. I should have looked harder." Minerva's voice cracked just slightly. "I should have asked more questions. When you graduated with all that debt, I offered to help. But Maureen told me you refused. Said you wanted to prove you could do it yourself." My jaw tightened. Another lie. Another manipulation. I believed her. Minerva shook her head. "I won't make that mistake again." She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. Cream-colored. Thick. My name was written on it in her careful handwriting. "This is the graduation gift I tried to give you 7 years ago. Maureen intercepted it. Told me you didn't want it." I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $55,000, dated 2019, and beneath it, a handwritten letter. "To my granddaughter Cordelia. May your future be brighter than anyone expects. You've always been special. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Love, Grandmother Minerva." The tears came before I could stop them. I was walking to my vehicle when Sloane appeared. She must have been waiting outside, watching for me to leave. Her face was puffy from crying. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked more human than I'd seen her in years. "Cordelia." "Wait." I stopped, but didn't turn around. "Please," she said. "Just 2 minutes." I turned. Waited. Sloane took a shaky breath. "I know I don't deserve anything from you. I know that. You're right. You don't. But I need you to understand." She struggled with the words. "I didn't know about the credit cards. Not at first. When I found out, I should have said something. I should have stopped it. But you didn't." "No." Her voice broke. "I was scared. I was so scared of becoming you. Of having Mom turn on me the way she turned on you. I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But recognition. So you helped her hurt me," I said. "To protect yourself." "Yes." Sloane wiped her eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know. I understand now why you did what you did. And I'm sorry for all of it. We stood there, two sisters on opposite sides of a divide that might never fully close. I can't forgive you right now, I said finally. Maybe not ever. But I understand why you did it. Fear makes people do terrible things. I paused. Look at Mom. Sloane nodded. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I need time. I know. We didn't embrace, didn't make promises. Just nodded at each other and walked to our separate vehicles. It wasn't closure, but it was honest. That was more than we'd ever had before. A week later, the full picture emerged. Aunt Constance called me with updates. She'd become my unofficial liaison to the family chaos I'd left behind. Your mother found out about the will, Constance said. Theodore Williamson sent her the notification. How did she take it? A pause. She called your grandmother screaming. Threatened to sue, threatened to contest. Said Minerva was senile and being manipulated. And what did Grandma say? One sentence. Then she hung up. What was the sentence? Constance's voice held something like admiration. You made your choices for 30 years. I've made mine. I let that sink in. What about Dad? I asked. Moved out. He's staying with his brother in Portland. The divorce papers have already been filed. 32 years of marriage undone in a week. And Mom? Alone, Constance said. She calls everyone asking for support, asking people to reach out to Minerva on her behalf. Nobody answers. I should have felt triumph. I didn't. Do you feel guilty? Elliot asked me that night after I relayed the conversation. I thought about it, really considered the question. No, I said finally. But I don't feel victorious either. I just feel done. Elliot waited. It's like a wound that's been infected for years, I continued. What happened yesterday was the surgery. It hurts. It's ugly. But now it can actually heal. He pulled me close. Is it over? I thought about the check from Grandmother Minerva, deposited in my account. The messages of support from relatives I barely knew. The silence from the woman who gave birth to me. The explosion is over, I said. Now comes the part where we see what's left standing. Turns out more than I expected. 2 months after Mother's Day, life found a new rhythm. My credit score, cleared of Mom's fraudulent cards, climbed to 763. My student loans dropped to $27,000. I'd made a significant payment with Grandmother Minerva's gift. Not to erase the debt entirely, but to prove to myself I could handle it. Elliot and I moved in together. A new apartment in Queen Anne. 1 bedroom bigger than my old place. A kitchen with actual counter space. We picked it out together. No one else's opinion asked or required. Dad came to see it on moving day. He brought a house plant and a bottle of wine. His eyes were tired, but there was something lighter in them. How are you? I asked while Elliot unpacked boxes in the other room. Getting there. He set the plant on the windowsill. The divorce will be finalized next month. I'm staying with your Uncle William until I figure out my next move. And emotionally, he managed a small smile. 30 years of lies is a lot to process. But you know what? I don't regret a single day of being your father. Not one. We embraced for a long time. Sunday dinners became our new tradition. Just us. Sometimes Elliot joined. Sometimes Grandmother Minerva drove down from Oregon. Simple, quiet hours. Then 4 weeks after we moved, an envelope arrived. No return address. Postmarked from Arizona. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A letter. Dear Miss Hayes, I received your DNA profile through Ancestry and discovered we share a biological connection. My name is Christopher. I believe I may be your father. I'm not seeking anything from you. I just thought you should know I exist. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. A phone number was printed at the bottom. I stared at the letter for 3 days before showing it to Elliot. What are you thinking? He asked. I don't know. I've spent 30 years with one father. Now there might be 2. Christopher's letter was careful, respectful. He wasn't demanding a relationship or inserting himself into my life. He was simply making himself known. According to the brief details he'd shared, he and my mother had been colleagues nearly 32 years ago. A brief relationship. She broke it off suddenly, and he never knew why. He'd moved to Arizona, built a life, had other children. When a relative mentioned the family scandal that had spread through social media whispers and gossip, he'd taken a DNA test. The match was conclusive. "He's not asking to be your father," Elliot said carefully. "Gerald is your dad. This guy knows that." "I know. But what if I want to know him someday? Not now, but eventually." Elliot took my hand. "You spent 30 years having other people define your identity. Your mother decided who you were supposed to be. Your family believed her." He squeezed gently. "This is your choice, nobody else's." I thought about that for a long time. Then I opened my laptop and composed a short email. "Dear Christopher, I received your letter. Thank you for reaching out with such respect. I'm not ready to meet or talk yet. I need time to process everything. But I wanted you to know that I appreciate you not pushing. I'll reach out when and if I'm ready. For now, thank you for letting me know you exist." I hit send. Then I closed the laptop and made dinner. Some answers can wait. I'd already found the ones that mattered most. She showed up on a Thursday. I was leaving my office building when I saw her standing by the entrance, thinner than I remembered. Older. The designer clothes replaced by something simpler. "Cordelia." I stopped walking. "I've been trying to reach you," she said. "You blocked my number." My emails bounced back. "That's intentional." "I know. She took a step forward. "I've been thinking a lot about everything." And I wanted to say, "Stop." She froze. "You don't get to do this," I said calmly. "You don't get to show up at my workplace and pretend we're having a reconciliation moment. That's not how boundaries work. I'm your mother. You're the woman who stole from me, lied about me, and psychologically abused me for 30 years because you couldn't face your own guilt." I kept my voice even. "We're not having coffee and talking things through. We're not doing family therapy. We're nothing. You can't just cut me out forever. I'm not cutting you out forever. I'm cutting you out until you learn that my no means no." I held her gaze. "That might be forever. That's your choice now, not mine." Her face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the 18-year-old girl who'd made a mistake and spent decades trying to bury it. But sympathy and boundaries aren't mutually exclusive. "Goodbye, Mom." I walked past her to my vehicle. She didn't follow. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I caught a glimpse of her in the rearview mirror, still standing there, watching me go. My hands were steady on the steering wheel. For the first time in my life, they weren't shaking. That's what freedom feels like. If you're listening to this story and seeing yourself in it, I want to tell you something. You are not what they call you. You're not the disappointment. You're not the difficult one. You're not the problem child or the black sheep or whatever label the people who should love you chose to stick on you instead of examining their own failures. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who hurt us the most, and setting boundaries with them, refusing to absorb their cruelty, isn't selfish. It's survival. My mother sent me an invoice for $389,000. She calculated the cost of my diapers and my braces and my birthday parties. But she never calculated the cost of what she did to me. The years of wondering why I wasn't good enough. The nights crying alone. The opportunities stolen. The confidence crushed. There's no price tag for that. And there's nothing she can pay to get me back. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe someday I'll speak to her again. Maybe I won't. But for the first time in my life, that's my choice, not hers. Dad and I have dinner every Sunday. Grandmother Minerva calls every Wednesday. I'm slowly rebuilding connections with cousins and aunts who finally see me clearly. And Elliot, he asked me last week if I wanted to look at engagement rings. I said yes. Life goes on. Different. Better. Mine. So if you're out there, trapped in your own version of this story, know that there's another side. Know that truth has power. Know that boundaries are bridges to freedom. You are worth more than the people who failed to love you. I'm Cordelia Hayes, and my bill is paid in full. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If any part of it resonated with you, if you've ever felt like the disappointment in your own family, drop a comment. Tell me your story. Sometimes just saying me too is enough. And if you want more stories like this, about family conflict, about justice, about finding your voice, check out the videos in the description. There's a whole playlist waiting for you. Remember, your worth is not determined by those who failed to see it. I'm Cordelia Hayes, and my bill is paid in full.